In the headlines, NDLEA storm Edo Forest, raised 317-ton cannabis warehouse, arrest 4. Chimaroke Nnamani reacts to suspension, says right to fair hearing violated. Motorists lament as they spend hours on long queues at filling stations in Abuja. And on the international scene, military frees 62 women and 4 children kidnapped by terrorists in Burkina Faso. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Dashan Husseina Usman. And we begin with crime, where the International Drug Law Enforcement Agency has busted a cluster of cannabis syndicates operating in the Okpuje Forest in Edo State, where massive warehouses and tents storing over 317,417 kilograms of the psychoactive substance were destroyed and set ablaze in a 2-day operation. At least a police impersonator, Omoran Theophilus, 37 years, who parades as a police inspector to convey the drugs from the forest to the cities, and 3 others were arrested in connection with the drugs. A statement from the agency's Director of Media and Advocacy, Femi Babafemi, says Okpuje community in Owan West local government area of Edo State is notorious for cannabis cultivation, where the cartels invest huge resources cutting down economic trees of the forest reserves and cultivating cannabis on a large scale running into hundreds of hectares. Babafemi said the agency's operatives were ambushed while accessing the forest with bonfire by armed youths on their way out of the community, but were able to successfully leave the area without any casualty except the heavy investment losses inflicted on the cartels. Police in Borno State have arrested 6 suspected ritualists belonging to a group known as Karengia. The group is suspected to have carried out a number of ritual killings and rapes in the state. Police Commissioner in Borno also said he will redeploy over 500 newly posted police constables across the state ahead of the 2023 elections. Still in crime, police in Niger State have arrested 14 persons suspected to have connections with the killing of the village head of Lambata, Muhammad Abdul Safar. Late Abdul Safar was killed on January 14th at his residence in Lambata, Gurara local government area, over leadership tussle, while the killers inflicted injuries on his younger brother, Ibrahim Muhammad. The State Police Command's Public Relations Officer, Wasiu Abiodun, who announced this in a statement, said the suspects were arrested on the order of Commissioner of Police Ogundele Ayodeji, who ordered a house-to-house search of the area. Abiodun said during interrogation, the suspects confessed that they were hired by Umar Ilyasu Serki, who claimed that the 37 district heads in the community were loyal to him and that they did not recognize the late village head as their leader. Similarly, Abiodun said 19 persons had been arrested in connection with the burning of a police divisional station in Kafinkoro, Paikoro local government area. He said during the attack, the building was set ablaze with 4 motor vehicles and 10 motorcycles, valuable public office documents, while valuable exhibits such as electronics, laptops, handsets, computer sets, among others, were vandalized and stolen. Suspected armed youths alleged to have been working under the directives of the caretaker committee chairman of Wukari local government area, Daniel Adi, have allegedly attacked 3 internally displaced persons at Tor Yolumun community, Rafinkada ward of Wukari local government area, Taraba State. A victim of the attack, Ternege John, said they were busy mending their destroyed houses and laying bricks to reconstruct other houses when the Jukun youths, armed with sophisticated weapons, invaded the community and started shooting sporadically. He explained that in the ensuing drama, some of their relatives ran into the bushes, while 3 of them who stayed back were attacked and left with life-threatening injuries. John added that the attackers carted away a Peugeot car and 3 motorcycles and burnt their belongings. The police command in Osun State says 2 people were killed during a clash between cult members in Okebale area of Osogbo. The command spokesperson, Yemisi Okpalola, on Friday in Osogbo said those killed are members of the cult groups involved in the clash. Okpalola said many cult members who sustained machete cuts and other forms of injuries are in various hospitals in Osogbo receiving treatment. She assures that the command would go after the fleeing cult members with a view to arresting and prosecuting them in order to make the state safe. The crisis, according to reports, started at Odeoga Junction in Okebale area of Osogbo when some cultists abducted a member of a rival cult group. Colleagues of the abducted cult member then stormed the hideout of the rival group, which prompted the use of dangerous weapons by both sides. Moving to politics, the People's Democratic Party has suspended former Enugu State Governor Chimaroke Nnamani as member of the party. This was contained in a statement on Friday by the party's spokesman Debo Ologunaba, saying the suspension is with immediate effect. He explained that the decision to suspend Nnamani is based on allegations of anti-party activities leveled against the ex-governor. Late Nnamani, the lawmaker representing Enugu's East Senatorial District, has publicly expressed his support for Bola Tinubu, presidential candidate of the APC. Reacting, former Enugu State Governor Chimaroke Nnamani has protested his suspension by the PDP, saying his right to a fair hearing was allegedly violated. The suspension of Nnamani, one of several others sanctioned on Friday, was based on allegations of anti-party activities leveled against the Enugu East senator and was taken by the PDP's National Working Committee. Responding to the punitive action against him, Nnamani took to Twitter on Saturday morning to disclose that the decision and announcement of his suspension came to him as a rude shock and a huge surprise. The former governor added that he was never at any time notified of any petition or complaint against him or informed of the grounds that formed the decision of the PDP NWC to suspend him from the party. He appealed to his followers to remain calm and law-abiding while he continues to campaign to a hopeful victorious conclusion. Motorists in Abuja spend hours in filling stations to buy fuel as long queues return to the nation's capital. Noel Sampson speaks to the motorists on their frustrations. He also asks Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria why the scarcity lingers. The report.
Abuja residents expressed their displeasure that the monster of fuel scarcity in the nation's capital is back, as they either spend precious time in filling stations before they can buy fuel or buy at prohibitive price from the black marketers.
I spent 3 hours at Savas, Kariki by the Kanori. 3 hours. I can't hear now. The queue is not moving. We that are joining the queue, some people will be maneuver, paying 500 and join, followed by the outside gates, entering the filling station.
They sell 1 liter for 400. So where will 1 liter take me to? If I want to buy fuel, I have to buy like 20 liters. And how much is that?
Buhari meet fuel 85 naira, and now we are bought fuel 195. Some place 300 naira per liter. This is too much.
The black market sellers said it is not their fault that the price is high. We buy fuel from the filling stations for prices ranging from 2,600, 2,700 or 2,800 naira for 10 liters. Then we sell to people for 3,500 or 3,200 naira for 10 liters. A liter is sold for 190 naira in the filling stations. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, gives reasons for the lingering fuel scarcity.
We don't get the product from where we purchase the product. The channel of distribution usually starts from the NNPC importing, and NNPC distribute it to private depot owners, and the private depot owners usually send some to their retail outlets, those that have retail outlets, and majority of the volume is being purchased by independent marketers from them. And there is a price template of which they are supposed to sell it to the independent marketers. We cannot in any way continue to depend as a oil-producing nation to continue depending on importation of refined petroleum products.
Dollar in Nigeria is not like it used to be before. Diesel in Nigeria is not like it used to be before. Even those that are importing petroleum products and those that are breaking the buck, all of them have their own toll. I will also tell you that vessels that we have been taking before for $60,000 are now $120,000. So who is going to pay for that? So we, the independent marketers, we bear the burden because we are the last people that dispenses to the customers.
Motorists and other customers plead with the government to address the problem before it becomes something else. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching Trust News Update. Coming up after the break. Health and economic benefits of soybeans. Stay with us.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Really, if you look at England's squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Trust News Update, a recap of our top stories. We told you that NDLEA storm Edo forests, raised 317-ton cannabis warehouses, arrests 4. You also heard that Chimaroke Namani reacts to suspension, says right to fair hearing violated. Moving to health, Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention has placed healthcare workers on red alert over a possible outbreak of diphtheria, asking them to maintain a high index of suspicion for the disease by being vigilant and looking out for symptoms. In a public health advisory issued, Director General NCDC Dr. Ifedayo Adetifa said the organization has responded to reports of diphtheria cases in Lagos and Kano states and is also monitoring the situation in Osun and Yobe states where cases are now being picked up.
Diphtheria is a serious bacterial infection caused by the bacterium called Corynebacterium species that affects the nose, throat, and sometimes skin of an individual. Symptoms include fever, runny nose, sore throat, cough, red eyes or conjunctivitis, and neck swelling, but in severe cases, a thick grey or white patches appears on the tonsils and at the back of the throat, associated with difficult breathing. Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Dr. Ifedayo Adetifa, said in addition to the clinically suspected cases, there have been laboratory confirmed cases, and the NCDC is working with state ministries of health and partners to enhance surveillance and response to the outbreak. Most at risk of contracting diphtheria are children and adults who have not received any or a single dose of the pentavalent vaccine, people who live in areas with poor sanitation, health workers, and others who are exposed to suspected or confirmed cases of diphtheria. NCDC says diphtheria spreads easily between people through direct contact with infected people, droplets from coughing or sneezing, and contact with contaminated clothing and objects. It advised parents to ensure that their children are fully vaccinated against diphtheria with 3 doses of the pentavalent vaccine as recommended in the childhood immunization schedule, while individuals with signs and symptoms suggestive of diphtheria are also advised to isolate themselves and notify the local government area, state disease surveillance officer, or the NCDC.
Nigeria is one of the largest producers of soybeans with the annual production of over 600,000 metric tons. Soybeans is a species of a legume native to East Asia, widely grown for its edible bean, which has numerous uses. Thousands of Nigerians depend on soybean as a source of protein and other nutrients. Trust TV's Ibrahim Ismail reports.
Soybean is processed to produce a homemade cake known as awara. Awara is widely consumed because it is being made from soybean, creating jobs to thousands of Nigerians. For more than a decade, Munari Joseph has been frying awara. According to her, some customers who could not afford the high cost of meat have resorted to awara for protein.
So soybeans is very important, it's very good for the body of woman and man. The awara is good, especially for the milk. It's very good. For the awara, we even cook the awara. Awara is very sweet.
Some customers gave reasons of consuming awara, which is 100% product of soybean.
And I like eating this awara because it's proteinous, and aside from that, this very awara is a kind of different from other awaras. Understand? The nutrients and what it used to give is far more than what you can think. So we are not just eating it because we are hungry, we are eating it because there's more to it. Yeah, the soybeans, the content.
Agriculturalists say although less input is required in the production of soybean, the crop has a lot of nutrients that has health benefit to the human body.
Soybean has the highest crude protein among all the families of the Fabaceae. That is, when you talk of the groundnut, the bambara nut, the chickpea, the pigeon pea, and others, the crop with the highest number of crude protein is soybean. So that makes it, the most important source of protein when making poultry feed. That's number one. Number two, the oil. The oil of soybean is the one that the whole world is looking for. Why? Because of the avoidance of disease. Before, the market used to be the oil from groundnut, but with the recent development of diseases, attacking, especially fungus, what is called aspergillus, attacking the groundnut, causing cancer. So now people are running away from the oil. The oil now that has the market value is that of the soybean.
The agricultural expert believes mass production of soybean will provide job opportunities to Nigerians and boost the country's gross domestic product (GDP). From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
The Central Bank of Nigeria is reaching out to traders to encourage them to use the new banknote and also deposit the old ones before January 31st. Chamunda Bank reports that the Apex Bank steps up its sensitization campaign 10 days to deadline to phase out the old currency.
The Central Bank of Nigeria on Friday takes its sensitization campaign to the Old Garki market in Abuja. CBN had representatives in the market community use local languages like Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba to communicate with their fellow traders to pass the message across. A CBN director, Abdullahi Abubakar Kure, addressed some of the questions and concerns of the traders, bordering why banks are still giving out the old note despite directives to dispense the new notes.
In order to make sure that banks have new notes that are going to replace old notes. So the processes are taking place concurrently. Yesterday we were at ATMs checking what the banks are feeding. And the feedback will let us take actions against banks that collected money from CBN without loading them into the ATMs. Where there are supply shocks, of course, Central Bank also take action. Already we know we have enough stock at Central Bank end. So we have asked the banks to come up and pick them up and load them at the various ATM. Essentially, let me go down to the benefit of the newly designed naira notes. The first point of all, as market people, you know that if you look at most of the notes you have now, they are not clean and fit, they are dirty. So part of the exercise is to ensure that those notes are clean. Another area of benefit is around financial inclusion. To the extent that we are bringing more people to the banking system, because now before you deposit your money in the bank, you need to have an account. So if you have an account, you can enjoy facilities like loan, insurance, funds transfer, and all of that is bank services need to offer.
Many Nigerians are, however, worried that the Apex Bank is not given enough time and has not done enough sensitization, especially at the rural areas where access to information is limited.
You carry this sensitization maybe in your radio, TV, newspapers, social media. We hope it will reach the grassroots. And we also went to meet some MES yesterday, and they have given us full understanding, including religious leaders. They will pass the message across to the grassroots, using their malams, their pastors, their reverend, to pass this message across. So we are hopeful we achieve the target of reaching the grassroots. If you go there, you see, Central Bank has registered a lot of mobile bank operators so that they use their POS as a touch point, as infrastructure, to send those physical cash back to the bank.
Despite pleas from Nigerians for an extension of the deadline, the CBN is determined to meet up with the 31st January deadline. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
We'll be back after this break.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
Welcome back. Now, finally, on the foreign scene, security forces have rescued 66 women and children who were kidnapped by armed fighters in northern Burkina Faso last week. Armed men seized the women and their children on January 12th and 13th outside two villages in the district of Arbinda in the Sahel region's Somme province. Security forces conducted a rescue operation and freed 27 women, 39 babies, children, and young girls in the adjacent Center Nord region, national broadcaster Radio Diffusion Television du Burkina said on Friday. Several government and security officials confirmed the news, Reuters and AFP news agencies reported. The abduction prompted alarm from the United Nations, while the country's military government warned of a rise in attacks on civilians. Burkina Faso is one of several countries in West Africa battling a rampant armed uprising with links to Al-Qaeda and ISIL. And with this, we've come to the end of Trust News Update. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.